And then I realized, 2012, 12 projects, 12 months, leap year project. I mean, it was a branding dream come true.
Yeah.
It was just so,
12,
it was like,
12,
it was like,
12.
yeah. It was like, it was cool.
Yeah. Hello, welcome back to The In-Between. I am your host, Maya Kare, and today we will be talking about the in-between struggle and success of building and creating, and ultimately what it means to walk down the path of success. Today, I am here with Victor Saad, and we're going to talk about that struggle, that messy part, and everything in between. So, Victor, you have quite the different successes in your life. You have built your own master program, 12 different places, 12 different experiences. You've written multiple books. You've are CEO, owner and founder of Experience Institute, and now you're working in private equity. So beyond your successes, though, you are an incredible person. You're so present with people, and you are so thoughtful and careful with the conversations you have, and everyone that I've talked to can see that and acknowledge that. So beyond the ultimate CV success paper as a person, it's incredible to see that success also has like character too.
Thank you. Yeah. I know this is going to sound wild. It doesn't feel like all of that some days, and I think there's a mix of dreams and then drive and then action that all leads you to just be so pursuant of this whatever next thing that nothing really ever feels like quote unquote success. And so I feel always sheepish when people are like, "Oh, you're successful." It's like, you're here. We have succeeded.
Yeah.
You're here making this podcast as a high school student after taking a gap year in Barcelona and building, your own little thing, and about to go back to start your, man, that is successful.
Success is in the room with us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
It's the fact that we're showing up.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately is, if someone's watching this or listening to this right now, in some ways they're successful just by the nature of they are curious and they're trying to figure out how to build something or make something. And I think that all along the way I've had to be really careful of thinking that success is going to be at the next horizon and more at this. I'm just showing up today.
Just showing up.
Yeah, and I'm showing up for the thing I believe in.
Yeah.
Or in a way that I believe is right and good in the world.
Right.
And that's
like an expectation of success. Like, for example, someone puts their expectation of success is to cross the finish line. Instead, you put your expectation of success by putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Right. And so that ultimately is what got you here today.
Yeah.
And I want to get into your story. When you were my age, I'm 19 now. What was your expectation for your life and what were you doing?
I was in Chicago. I was at a small little Christian school, faith-based school called Moody Bible Institute. It's not even just a faith-based school. It is a conservative Christian school. I got into that space because I grew up in the Bible Belt and my family sort of fell apart.
What's the Bible Belt?
Oh, sorry. The Bible Belt is a series of cities and even states throughout the Midwest, southern part of the Midwest, where there's a church almost on every corner. It's there's a lot of God-fearing, faith-based, Bible preaching sort of folks.
Hence the name.
Yeah, exactly. And in many ways, I feel so grateful to have grown up there at a time when my family was in disarray. Because youth groups were awesome for me. They were so helpful and they kept me out of a lot of trouble. They put me around good mentors. They set me on sort of a good sort of character building path. And that sort of community and invitation to lead things and to be a good person in difficult circumstances really set my initial course and sort of challenged me to think about a career that could do that for other people. So whenever I was being inspired by youth pastors who were taking me under their wing when my family was in a tough spot, I was like, oh gosh, how do I do that for other folks? And I also had no money for school. And I was trying to figure out how to pay for college. And I found out that Moody had a youth ministry program And if you got in, it was tuition free. And it was in Chicago, right? It was cool. So so I was 19 years old, and I got into Moody, and I was working every kind of job you can possibly imagine to pay just my room and board. I didn't have to pay tuition.
And what were other people your age doing?
Oh man, also well at Moody, everyone was studying some sort of ministry-oriented thing. I will say, because I was working in all these. I mean, I was working on Michigan Avenue. I was working in showrooms. I was dog walking. I was doing everything.
You're doing the gigs.
Yeah, I was doing the gigs because I just had to figure out how to make ends meet. And I met every kind of college student you could possibly imagine because we were all working to do similar things. And and at the same time I was playing soccer. I became class president. I was like doing stuff at Moody too to try to change the maybe overly conservative ways of thinking there. Started our class council started a dance competition because we weren't allowed to dance.
Did you participate?
This was Footloose. Totally true story. We call it the lip sync competition because you couldn't go dancing at Moody, but you could do choreographed dancing. And so that was our loophole.
Wait, is this according to like the school rules?
School rules. It was a conservative school. And so me and my class council, we started the annual lip sync competition, which means everyone around campus could practice their choreographed dances in the courtyards and in bathrooms and in,
That's adorable. So these students were just walking around doing their...
Yeah, like practicing. And because that was the thing, administration would let us do that if we approved the dances. And so we'd have to pick the top 12. And then the competition was a concert/dance, not party, but like, it was sort of
performance.
So you think you can dance kind of thing. And then the last year of it, we did it for 3 years. It was actually we were the first class council to be profitable.
Whoa.
We charged tickets.
Was that allowed in the conservative school that you
I think I can
went
say
to?
this now that it's so long ago. We kept the spare money in the freezer because there was no way in our treasurer's freezer. There's no way to place a deposit into the class council budget. We were just given a small budget every year. Anyway, that was funny. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. That's not where I thought this conversation was going to go.
You know what?
You asked me about 19.
You got to do. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
and you needed to build community.
We were a motley crew.
And you made money off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The start of your entrepreneurship.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, anyway.
So you were 19 to 21, you were at Moody.
At Moody and starting to do youth ministry. And then I became a youth pastor shortly after. I worked at a large church in the western suburbs. Huge church, 10,000 people, 1,000 students.
Were you straight out of school when you started doing?
Yeah. And I interned with them once, and I also interned with a church in the LA.
Yeah.
I was really committed to that path and really wanted to just support students who were in the messiest parts of their lives, middle school and high school students navigating all the quirks. I mean, obviously, quirks of growing up and navigating family relationships, some of them tough, some of them.
And how was that? How was kind of giving that navigate that advice, support, but also doing it under like the Bible or the way that you were taught to, or even in the groups that you were like with, was there certain boundaries or limits that you could actually be in before it became supportive, or I don't know.
I mean, I was so inspired again by the people who had shaped me and taken me under their wing or just supported me during hard times. That ultimately, I was trying to just pursue it with as much love as possible. And there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of different points of view around interpretation of the Bible and Jesus and God and Christianity and then religion more broadly. And I don't fit into those boxes anymore. But at that time, if I could just lead with the core tenet of love in the face of a kid whose parents are divorcing as well, or a kid who just feels like constantly misunderstood, or who just never sees themselves as lovable, and to not to give that love personally, though I would try to do that, really to help them see themselves as something that was created and made and
worthy
and worthy. Exactly. That was it wasn't my job to save them. It was my job to help them see themselves, as worthy, as you said. So it was a really great career path. There was, constructs in politics and all that stuff that it wasn't for me. And eventually I became sort of a black sheep of sorts at times. I felt like I was always kind of pushing the envelope on certain dogmas and beliefs and so on.
So you were youth pastor, 21 to 25.
Yeah.
And then was it like a push or pull that brought you into the next phase? And what was that next phase?
Well, it was around the financial crisis that I graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who are listening or watching who don't know what happened or maybe don't fully know the ins and outs of that one, I won't go into the details, but basically the housing sort of entire banking system kind of collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
There, and because of that, the stock market crashed. It was massive recession, and everyone was just scared about what was going to come next.
And what year was this?
2007,
Mm-hmm.
8. Yeah, it was right around there. So I graduated in 07 and started in 08. Started in 07, I guess. And then, all that started happening. So, and then, I lived through what was a youth pastor for most of that. And as people were emerging out of that season, 3-4 years in, there was a new sort of perspective on business, that business shouldn't just be about doing well. It could be about doing good as well. And it was called social enterprise or social entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And this was probably not that novel, but it was becoming more celebrated and accepted. And because of that, there were degrees and programs and MBAs in master's programs in schools around this topic, that it was like, okay, there's a natural sort of off-ramp from formal ministry potentially into still doing good in the world, but maybe without the constructs of a religious community and dogma and traditions, but still with the heart and the focus on people. Mm-hmm. And that was really exciting. So that was maybe a little bit of the pull, and maybe a little bit of the push was looking at my future in this career path and realizing, I don't think I'll be like these people,
right.
like the people who had been in there for 10 or 15 years. I liked their character, but their work and some of their beliefs weren't for me.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of both.
You got to be authentic, and you got to grow authentic.
Totally. Yeah. So I started looking at these programs and was like, okay, I'll get my GMAT scores high enough. I'll figure out how to get into a good school, and I will go to Northwestern University, Chicago, and study something around these spaces. I was going to all the sort of meetup groups around getting into these schools to get my scores up. And then that's when I was like, towards the end of that search, I realized I'm going to go into a lot of debt. I'm going to be in a classroom setting for a couple of years. And I'm going to, I don't know if I'll get the exploration or the breadth of exposure that I wanted to different sort of career paths.
Right.
And so I had to kind of like rethink it for a bit. What did I really want to do?
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't as like glamorous once you actually started doing the research.
I mean, especially the idea of going into like $100K of debt when I had worked so hard to stay out of it. I mean, I literally was just, in college even to pay the little bit of room and board I had to pay. I was working so hard. I mean, I would do valet parking from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., come back, and I was certified as a desk worker, and I'd see the desk workers falling asleep. And I'd be like, I got you. Get out of here. I'll take over the rest of your shift. And I'd work till 6. And then
what happened to sleeping?
And I'd sleep for like 4 hours and go to class. So it's like I just always had this incredible work ethic. Again, I had to work my way through high school too. So there was just this like drive to not be in a position where I was going to be someone, in debt, really indebted to anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but so when I was looking at school MBA costs, I was like, man, I'm gonna take on all this debt, and then I'm gonna have to go work for some person that I don't necessarily
get stuck in the loop that you were kind of already stuck in.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So when you unbundle what an MBA or a degree gives you, there's a few things that all of us want if we go to school. We want skills or tools. You want a network. You want some credibility, and you want to be employed afterwards.
Simple.
Yeah, I mean, this is really what a degree, to mix a degree. There's probably some experiences in there and so on too, but there's special experiences to be sure. And I was just like, look, MBA is, if we just put those three or four things in the middle, we'd say, okay, one path to get there is an MBA at Northwestern, or really MBA at any school. But then what are all the other ways to get to those things, or any mix of those things? Well, if you and I were at a whiteboard, we'd come up with all sorts of ways. How do we build credibility? Well, maybe it's could we borrow credibility of working in different companies? Or could we build something that's interesting? Or how do you get practical tools? Well, gosh, there's so many ways.
There's like infinite combinations that you could just like sort out.
But society just celebrates this singular path of MBA from Kellogg or Stanford or Harvard or whatever, and then like sort of celebrates the second tier or third tier schools. And now obviously it's getting celebrated even less. And I love those places. I mean, I work with people from those places all the time, and there's a reason why they've graduated from those places. They're really bright, and it's really nice. I'm a chief talent officer today for a firm that is a very people-centric investing firm, and I still look at those highly. But I tell you what, I look at a lot of other things too, aside from those. When I see someone who's got hustle, grit, positivity, self-awareness through all sorts of other experiences.
Right. Not just doing that type of schooling, getting that type of degree can get you those skills. Can we break down like what is socially acceptable? Like how did that concept get to be in your
Oh my
opinion?
gosh.
Because I think as a builder, someone who's an entrepreneur or a creator in general, like the story of I don't fit into this traditional path or box is so often told just in like a bunch of different fonts according to a bunch of different people. So like in your opinion, like what is this? How did it come to be? Like what does it give you?
Yeah, you mean the story of higher education specifically, or just in general, like career, like, or just the story of socially acceptable?
Yeah.
The latter, which you said yes to all of them.
Okay, like the last one. Like
I mean, there's. I mean, this is a bigger topic because now we're going to question the entire existence of truth and whether it's who defines it. But I think there's probably we're going a couple layers deeper or above that. Socially acceptable is just it's the middle, right? It's taking what is I think what other folks have done on the edges of conservative to extreme, and said, actually, if we could just dial you back a little bit and dial you up a little bit and dial you back a little bit, this feels right, and that becomes the middle. This happens with fashion, right? Like like this is a great example of that.
Yeah, like too boring, too sophisticated.
But then we get Banana Republic, right? Like, no offense to Banana, but it's like socially acceptable, right?
Yeah.
And then it happens with technology, like the super creative artists. I mean, artists really do pave the way for what is extreme, but then what eventually becomes accepted.
Yeah.
You see that happen whenever a city needs to get rebuilt, like Detroit. What rebuilt Detroit was artists and creators and creatives, right? And they're given totally blank canvases to really think about the future of something or how it should be or could be. And then we all think, okay, well, how do we make this acceptable to a lot of other people?
Right.
So that's what's socially acceptable. That's why it's not all bad. I mean, sometimes it's a great way to unify people, find a common story.
And also like what's repeatable and doable.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, what can be kind of copy and pasted to people's like obviously unique feature, but still like what's doable. So.
Exactly. And all of that still is rooted in stories that we tell ourselves or stories that have been told to us and passed down from generation to generation. I mean, the fact that I'm wearing pants and not a skirt, like this is more socially acceptable than me wearing a skirt. Maybe it's also practical. But genuinely, like why is this more socially acceptable? It's a story. Men wear pants, women wear skirts. Right? Of course, that even gender,
and
right?
You know a lot about story. I mean, Bible, like the first half of your life, like that was like really
it's all storytelling.
Story.
The mythology. I mean, if you want to read a good book about how humans have progressed using story, read 'Sapiens" by Naval Harari. I'm butchering his name, which I feel so bad about. But he's done a great job. So read *Sapiens* read *Sapiens*. And it's all about how humans have just progressed over time, really based on stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. And everything we see, do, touch, believe, create is rooted in some story we've told ourselves or have been told.
Yeah.
So what's fun about that is you can change that story at any point. You can change the script. It's just harder if it's internal.
Got the pen.
Yeah, you've got the pen.
Write.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's and then you'll have to deal with whatever other people believe their stories are. And if and this is why it's hard to make change. And, hard to change how we think about anything from how a business should be run, how what success is. I mean, there's a story that your bank account is success, right? Or how
The credentials you have,
Exactly.
and how that proves your skill.
Exactly. The MBA is a story.
Right.
It's just a story. And so, I know we haven't quite talked about it, but I developed a different story.
Yeah, so coming
education.
back to your schooling,
Yeah.
like you didn't want to be in debt. You didn't want to live that life of 4 hours of sleep and having to do a bunch of different gigs, but you wanted to continue actually pursuing something authentic to you and continue your learning and be in this social entrepreneurship era.
Yeah.
So how did you do that?
That's okay. So back to that.
Back to that.
So remember all these 3 or 4 things that we're looking for: credibility, tools, network, employability, or employment. All right. So MBA, one path. If I'm just unbundling that, it was April of 2011 where I had gotten things, I think, organized enough to get into a good school, and I was like, gosh, this is not for me. It's not for me. And one of my dearest friends and I had been talking about it, and he's like, hey, 2012 is going to be a leap year. You should do something with that. Because I was talking about maybe just taking a year off. Oh, that's interesting.
What's a leap year?
A leap year every 4 years. There's an extra day in the calendar.
Something in like February?
Yeah, February 29th. We only get one February 29th. It's leap day every 4 years, and that makes it the leap year. There's an extra day in the year. And it's just this special year, right? Yeah. No one ever really thinks about it. Yeah, it's just this kind of like slightly untouched kind of bit of calendar landscape, if you will. I mean, some companies will do a little bit of a campaign around it, whatever else. But
take that story and make it a
anyone who's born on February 29th, they're age divided by 4, which is kind of funny. So I'd be 10 years old or whatever if I was born on February 29th. So the idea though was that instead of a gap year, maybe I could create a little bit more of an action-oriented year of learning for myself. And I was like, okay, what things am I interested in learning? And could I create a container called Leap Year? I was talking to a couple other friends, talked to a pal. He's like, you should just do 12 different things in the 12 months. And he's like, you should work at the aquarium and the zoo and travel abroad and just document your stuff. And he's a really bright thinker and entrepreneur.
Did he want to do all of this too?
He's like he wanted to come along. Sure. And then so I just started brainstorming with friends, and then I realized, 2012, 12 projects, 12 months, leap year project. I mean, it was a branding dream come true. Yeah. It was just it was like 12, it was like 12. Yeah. It was like, it was cool.
Yeah.
So so I started thinking about what did I really want to learn and do, and I knew I wanted to touch on social entrepreneurship. I knew I was pretty creative and I was a decent communicator, and entrepreneurship. Wanted to start businesses. So could I design a year around that? And I mean, long story short, that's what I ended up doing. I resigned from my youth ministry role that summer. I started a website that had a newsletter sign up and explaining what I was doing. I was actually just catching up or emailing with the young student. It was a high school student that I met along my way who helped me build my first website. And he helped me create a subscription page to just do $10 a month for my newsletter. And at the time, 2011, there wasn't a lot of, Kickstarter was still pretty new. There weren't a lot of ways to accept money for a project.
Yeah.
It was just kind of weird to do it. So we had to figure out all this stuff, and we pulled it off. And then I just started telling people, hey, do you want to, or asking people, could you back me for a year, just 1 year, while I do this self-designed master's? And I just had to talk to hundreds of people and just explain why I wasn't going to go do a traditional school, what I wanted to do with this year, what they would get from subscribing.
Yeah, kind of making it a little exclusive too.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll get to
you're
get an
excited
insight.
Like each time a newsletter comes out.
Yeah,
like,
what is Victor up to?
Yeah, what is Victor doing this time?
And so it was cool. And so I raised money. I got enough people to say yes, and then those people started introducing me to companies or directors or VPs or managers of CEOs of companies that could overlap with this like small entrepreneur startup kind of thing, or something that was in the sort of creative space, or something that was doing good in the world, or just all sorts of stuff.
So you're at this point, you're around like 25,
26.
26 years old. You've created this for yourself.
Yeah.
How are you getting the money to actually execute this and live? And
so the $10 a month, couple hundred people, that was a couple grand a month. That was, obviously some fees associated with that. And then with every company that said yes, which took some time, they would do a little stipend. And then I downsized my life to a roller bag and a backpack. So I didn't have rent, got rid of my car.
Were you doing like the hostel situation?
Hostels or staying, wherever I would go. Sometimes I'd be staying with people at the company that I was working with.
Yeah.
Or staying in an extra room or renting a room, something like that. And you could do that at 26 years old with no responsibilities, no debts. Like, I think about how much I would have spent on Northwestern.
Yeah, that would have been like 50 of the 12 month
cost. Like, the cost would have been astronomical. And so that was the year. I mean, I found 12 organizations or individuals, so a mix of those two, that let me work with them for a month. And they went all over.
What type of places did you go to?
So I found myself in kind of a mix of stuff. So an architecture firm, design agency, farm in Costa Rica, a clothing company that was kind of a direct to China sort of suit maker, or men's fashion. An everyday sort of products that where a portion of the sale of those products would go to nonprofits. It's called Project 7. Just all sorts of folks.
Yeah.
I mean, the architecture firm was really cool. The creative agency in San Diego.
What was the common theme that you were doing?
Usually everyone and anyone needed help with some sort of communication piece.
Okay.
So that was like a common thread. So I would go in and help them with their branding or their messaging. That would be a good starting point, but then it would force me to learn the business.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'd find something else. And I had 30 days, right? So I needed to spend the first 2 or 3 days interviewing the staff or the team I was being brought on, and then scope a project, present the scope. Like, here's the 2 or 3 things I think I could do with the next 60 hours a week for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Just focus.
So you pitched your role.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Well
That's
done.
right.
Well done.
And I had to do it a
Take
bunch.
initiative.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And every time I was talking to someone, I'd say, hey, what would you do with 20 hours extra a week? Or if you had 1 month just to focus on anything, what would you focus on? And everyone always had an answer,
Yeah.
There's things that they just needed and wanted to get done. And so it had to be less about me and more about how to be helpful to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find your way.
Yeah.
Like I found myself with more work than I could possibly accomplish.
Yeah. It wasn't like you were empty, sitting at a computer.
No. And I got, within the first 4 months, I think 3 of the first 4 companies gave me a job offer.
Okay.
They were like, just stay here. And it was wild.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to finish. I mean, by July I was tired. I was tired and alone. I felt really lonely.
Right. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So like personal story, I moved to Spain right after my high school. And so all of my friends went to university. I was the only person who took a gap year in my school. Like, because of social media, constantly I was seeing like, we're at the frat parties, like we're getting lit, like, just like this vibe that like I had always been part of. Yeah. But I didn't want to continue it because I knew there was more to the world to see. And so I left it. Right. But I was so lonely. Like, I think I had one friend in Spain for the first 2 months.
Oh, man.
But also I was seeing how beautiful the world was. Like, I was seeing the culture that I like finally, like, I was like a bird. Like, I was free. I was like out there, and it was kind of this like this duality, contradicting feeling inside of me of how I feel so like lonely, but also the world is so beautiful.
Totally.
And so like, did you like face that when you were kind of hopping around month to month?
Totally. Well, first of all, I can only imagine what you felt looking at Instagram. I didn't have Instagram. I mean, I guess I did. There was Instagram at the time, but like, when everyone is doing something,
right,
and you feel so alone going a different direction. I totally get that feeling. And there's going back to storytelling. That story is so powerful for yourself first, and maybe most importantly, and then as you travel through life to tell those stories, I find that people look at you and they're like, "Oh, I wish I would have done that," or "That was an option." Like,
right, right. And it's funny. Most people who say that are like twice my age, who are like, "Wow."
Exactly. I get it all the time. It's like, I wish I would have done that. It's why I started Experience Institute at the first version of it. And anyway, so I'm so happy you did that. And I know you don't need anyone to validate it. You understand it. I'm so happy.
We're in each other's shoes
Yeah.
at the end of the day. Like
Yeah.
we do have a very
Yeah.
similar of like
Yeah.
create your own route. Right?
Totally. And now I'm forgetting your question.
Okay. Me too.
Okay.
But we can circle back. So now you're 26.
Yeah.
You've done the 12 months, the 12 experiences.
Yeah.
You have hundreds of people
Yeah.
like following you
Yeah.
and supporting you. And you have like this crazy amount of skill level because you've seen the architecture, you've seen clothing, you've seen farm life, like you've gotten to know teams. What are you doing with it now? Like,
yeah, I mean,
what's the next steps after your leap?
So that was 15 years ago. So I was really young, and I had to figure out how to build a business. So I tried first to help other people do this, and it was a blast. It was really fun. I designed a program where people wouldn't do 12 experiences; they would do 3. So fall, spring, and summer. It was a little more palatable for companies, and it was a little more palatable for the student. It's still a year of learning, a year of travel, a year. And we called it Harvard and Meets the Amazing Race. So Harvard Meets the Amazing Race. You would meet in Chicago, 2 weeks, travel to a company, come back in January, travel, come back in May, travel, and then graduate in August when the next class starts at the same time. So your graduate at the graduation party was the next class starting. So I never took a break for 4 years. It was just like constant.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out how to pay for it all because I was undercharging. I was 27.
Yeah. You just wanted the best.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Look that love, like,
oh my
pastor, like, in
totally.
you.
And I did this for free. I was trying to figure out how companies would subsidize it and so on. And I couldn't figure out how to really make it fly financially. I was always just barely rubbing 2 pennies together and taking care of staff and people and students. And
did you ever feel like with that? Did you ever feel, in a way, taken advantage of, even though like you kind of were the one letting it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple things. One, the world of entrepreneurship, when you don't have any accolades or you don't come from any money or you didn't get the big degree, it is tougher. To find the right advisors and mentors and money and so on. It was a little more challenging than I care to admit. I also, I think being on this end as an investor today, like I think I get it. It's hard to invest in a first time entrepreneur, and there's also I think some wisdom for younger Victor to have not taken some of the venture money that I could have taken. I got some advice not to do that, and so I was trying to figure out how to bootstrap, and for a lot of reasons, and if you can't bootstrap, in my case, I couldn't quite do it, then you probably needed to pivot, and I did. So, and there are days where I'm like, gosh, could I? Yeah, I still think about that work all the time.
Yeah.
I loved. I mean, what you did this past year, Maya, is so cool. And if I could have just been in your corner somehow and supported you a little bit. Now, there's some things that I actually think it's great that you didn't have anybody, right?
Yeah.
You needed to do it on your own. But there's probably some students who probably just can't, or their parents or whoever can't quite get there, and how to help them.
Yeah.
So
what did you do to pivot because you weren't making that?
I had all these amazing HR leaders and talent leaders who were taking our students as fellows or as apprentices. And I started pitching them on what they needed for their companies because we had curriculum. I was teaching students design thinking and communication.
And this is all like schooling. Like, what was this school called?
I call it Experience
Institute.
Yeah,
okay.
It's called Experience Institute. And it was I literally just told people I started a school. I got in trouble with the state of Illinois because I was giving away sort of degrees, and I had no accreditation. And my response to that was like, okay, we'll accredit ourselves. It's all story. I was like, okay, well, we will be the first accreditor of experiential learning programs. What did they say to that? And they didn't even know how to respond. I literally was like, what is your accreditation?
Yeah.
Okay, that is for traditional schooling. Guess who's the accreditor of Experience Institute?
And I'm sure they had to recheck the state of Illinois. Like, what is the story of the state of Illinois that accredits this? And then it's just.
I mean, ultimately, it just didn't matter.
Right.
We were such a small player. We weren't. I mean, we were doing so well by students. Like no one really could. We got a couple letters, and then they didn't know what to do with us, right? So. Anyway, I had all these chief talent officers and chief people officers who were so kind to even take students, right? To bring these sort of misfits into the room and to let them work in their agencies or in their architecture firms or wherever. And a lot of the same companies that I worked for were my first we called them host companies. And but then I went back. I was like, hey, listen, I'm struggling to figure out the financial model of this, and I'm wondering if there are things your teams need that that our style of delivery through workshops, through like labs or project-based learning could be useful for your teams. And a couple of them said yes, and I started making like just doing these kind of one-day workshops. And sometimes I would get paid what a student was paying me in a year in a day, like to do these work. You know,
companies have money.
yeah, companies have money,
Students-
and I wasn't charging a lot for students, but still, I was like, that's so. Then I was like, okay, there's some, and there was no overhead to that, right? It was just professional services.
Yeah.
And I had all the right teammates. Everyone who was teaching my students had the same chops to teach inside of companies, because a lot of times there was overlap between the two. So then I just started leaning into that a little bit more. And I will never forget my first big client was a woman named Renetta McCann. Renetta was you met Renetta.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she was head of people at Leo Burnett, and I got a chance to give her a pitch to sponsor the school, and it was December of 2013, and I was totally out of money, and I was just barely holding it together. And I was trying to find $5,000-$10,000 sponsors who I would then do some work for them, some workshops and curriculum, and then they would have access to students and stuff. And she heard the pitch. I brought a student with me, one of the EI students, and she's like, I don't know what we're gonna do with you, but I'll take all of them. And she wanted to be the lead sponsor and all this stuff. And for the next year, Renetta and I started building programs together for her teams. And then that really launched Experience Institute as a studio for companies who are trying to develop their people.
Wow.
And to really rethink learning throughout your career, not just in higher ed.
It took one person to...
One person. I mean, there were all sorts of people. And there's a woman named Leslie who got me the pitch, right? Like, I don't talk about Leslie enough. Like, she got me the pitch. Yeah,
like,
exactly. So I will never forget. And they had to give me the check before the end of the year because they had to spend it on the budget. And I'll never forget that. I mean, it changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, that one person. And that's what I think that you're talking about the messy parts. And it really does sometimes take like getting to your last mile before you get to the next mile.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
There's this like kind of cartoon that I always picture, and it's this guy mining for gold.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. But one more mine away is the jackpot of gold.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not to say, I mean, I think this is we can get in our heads about this all the time. I mean, we can drive ourselves into the ground for something that isn't in alignment with ourselves. And we're like, oh, but there might be some version of alignment, or there might be some outcome here. And we can keep mining, and there really isn't the gold there. And it's hard to know.
Yeah.
And you know, my word for this year as I recently had my birthday is kind of this inner knowing, and to start paying attention to that. Because as you get older, there's more that you have to continue to mine through. You have more experiences, more negative things that show up in your life. And you can just begin to believe new stories. And if you're not careful, then you're just doing things for different reasons than you ever wanted to do them.
Or the story of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. And so now you have like, now you're kind of caught up with Experience Institute. You are continuing providing these different designed programs to organizations and teams, so that they can flourish more and be more them. And
the workplace is changing so much, and people are having to adapt so quickly. Going back to school doesn't make sense. So how do you bring a great partner to your company that is going to help your people adapt to this crazy moment of disruption? And you need an outside facilitator for that, to learn about your business, learn about your people, learn about where you're trying to go, and then help you effectuate that. And so Experience Institute does that work, and it does it really well, and it does it in a really soulful way, and it's independently owned. A couple of years ago, I stepped aside as the CEO after 13 years of running it, put our CEO in place as the CEO, and she's been amazing. Her name's Sarah Lonka. And then there's this just fantastic team that has been around for a long time. Amelia, and Erin, Katie, and Stephanie, and Zach. It's like this stellar team with a group of contractors around that all have domain expertise. So it's all like educator owned and run. And you're making money out of it. Yeah. To like continue it and to give more and to expand. Exactly. It's sustainable. Yeah. It's again, because it's privately held today, we don't have some crazy expectation to grow at some hockey stick growth. Right. And it's just a beautiful company. I think the industry is changing a lot, and I think part of the messiness of that is how do we adapt and stay relevant, and companies are slashing budgets and trying to be more efficient with less. So, as our intern, you're going to learn more about that,
Yeah.
and that's business. You have to adapt and reinvent yourself.
Always
Yeah.
adapting,
Yeah.
always trial and error, and like
Yeah.
getting back up and being
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Just to head to the last chapter, the chapter I'm in today. So I took a break, hiked the Camino de Santiago, and then realized like I really wanted to step onto an executive team for the first time in my life. I've only ever been, like the head of a company and a vendor or a coach or a consultant. What is it like to really be inside of a company where there's a lot of executives, there's a lot of teammates, and you're trying to effectuate the values that you believe in and bring them to life in sort of in a way that's not just a pill or a potent moment, but also like long term. I was always selling to chief talent officers, but I'd never been one. And I had a dear friend who was running this investment firm, have dozen portfolio companies, and has this amazing model of actually finding leaders who want to become CEOs, backing them for a couple of years while they go find an older leader that needs a successor. So it's this cool bridge building model. And he's like, I need someone to just take that to the next level. And it felt like a good fit. I get to work on business building, talent acquisition, coaching, executive coaching, development. And I had to give it a shot. And so that's where I am today.
Here you are.
Yeah,
Giving it a shot.
Yeah, I'm a partner at an investment firm. I never thought I would do this kind of work. It just happened based on relationships, based on the work. And I'm, in the belly of the beast of capitalism. It is, and that is like, every entrepreneur
I'm sure
has
like your creative mind and your like mind of always constantly doing these like different gigs, or your design mind. How is that being at a firm like this?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully I've got partners who let me run a little bit and are okay with some of that. It definitely isn't full speed, by the nature of just having priorities that need to be met and having more people to sort of work alongside. I mean, the joys of a team are that you have people, and then the other side of that is that you have people like the responsible for, and there are moments of this career path that are really just so much less about Victor and my ideas, and so much more about what's best for the business, what's best for the team, and what's sort of best for the person that I'm sitting across from on this team, and that's, I think, part of the balance of being sort of an artist. Artists are, you're doing things from your point of view, for your point of view, and you're letting people interpret it however they want. Being a designer is doing it with other people in mind, designing solutions and products and services. And then being a business leader is doing design and business for the outcome of whatever the stated mission is of the business. And so these are just three of the different ways you can mix and match them a little bit. But I've been an artist at times when I'm writing a children's book or a book. I'm a designer at times when I'm designing services or programs for teams, and then I'm a business leader when I'm figuring out how to help this firm sort of deploy capital and hire good people and build companies and help them grow. And you just kind of bounce around throughout each one, and I think they all each serve
Everything's
you.
congruent too. Like each one you get to expand the other one with, in a way.
Totally.
Well, Victor, we're caught up. We're caught up with the timeline. I mean, you live in a doozy. Like, it's very inspiring. It's really cool to see you continue to create and to do the artist, the design, and the business.
Yeah.
To people who are building, creating, younger too.
Yeah.
Is there something that you would tell them to push them, or even to validate, or just something? Take it as you want, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of noise right now. There's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, and as much as you can, tune it out. Not always. Sometimes you have to listen to it, but find times to tune it out and to let yourself process. And listen to and find your sort of true self, your true voice in the middle of it all. It's a really difficult thing because you have all these parts of yourself, the part that wants money, the part that wants to be creative, the part that wants to live in Portugal, and the part that wants to live by home. It's like you have all these different parts of yourself. But really, self-awareness, self-knowledge is the ultimate knowledge. It's the ultimate power. I'm sure there's a quote I should drop right here that I don't have.
You just dropped one. Self-knowledge is the
ultimate knowledge. But no, I think I would just really begin to build patterns, rhythms, practices for you to get to know yourself better. And you can do that with others. I don't think self is the ultimate goal. I think itself is in community with others.
Yeah.
It is in.
It's not always solitude.
Yeah, it's in relationship. There's
definitely
people who can speak in your life, build those relationships. But from there, that's your foundation. If you can just know what you value, know like what you want to try next, be comfortable with what you don't know to some extent. And invite people into that with you. I have 3 or 4 people. This morning I went on a run with my mentor after, dinner last night as well, and just kind of catching up with this season of my life and something I do around my birthday with him. And it's so sweet because we've been friends for 15 years. He knew me during the Leap Year Project. I made the decision to do this Leap Year Project at his place. And he's telling me more stories that I didn't even know about him, about his age and when he was my age. And I just think you should just share in that sort of journey of self-knowledge with other people too.
Yeah.
So then you can go do whatever you want, because you know yourself.
It is. You can write your story.
Yeah, you can write your own story because you're not listening to everyone else's story all the time or everyone else's expectations all the time. And you can do that with a strong core and a clear mind. Whatever happens, whatever people say about, oh, that's not how you do it. That's the middle is over here. You should do it this way.
Doesn't nudge you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You gain your.
Yeah, you can stay out here if you want to, or if you know yourself and you want to be down the middle, it's totally fine. But you know that about yourself. It's not someone else telling you. So.
Well, thank you for tuning in. This is the In Between podcast, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.